Now, everybody, we're going to move on. I want to do something here because this is really not, you can barely see this shit. So why don't we move this to, let's say, what's got less stuff? Well, we can get rid of this. All right, so let's move this to another page. Let's go include header head.php. Then we'll go include, we'll just include includes classes. Okay, so we can get a little bit of an idea of what's happening here. So let's go to another. Okay, now here we are. We have just this form. We can get rid of this. This is not necessary. Get rid of that. And let's go like this. So now we only have this because I want you to see what's going on. We just have to go back. Anyway, when we were introduced to classes before, and we did this whole thing, and I showed you about making name, making height, and everything, and making age, and what have you. When it comes down to classes, there are other methods that you can use, and some of them are already predetermined. Now, I just want to let you know that when it comes to classes, there are so many different intricacies, whatever. There are just so many intricate aspects of classes that you can take advantage of. I just want to let you know, if you see something like this, void, or what was it, like void, or something like that, these functions, if they were, most functions, they just functionally do things and return things. If you're in a class and the functions within the class have to return something, most likely you're going to see an extension like that. Don't get intimidated by something like that. That's just, especially if you use like frameworks, stuff like that is, what the hell did you do? Stuff like that is just telling you what it returns. We're returning a string, so it wouldn't be out of the string of reality for us to do something like that. It's really not a big deal. You don't have to worry about that. It won't break anything down or whatever. You have to remember something about programming. Everything about programming is meant to help you. It's not meant to make things difficult. It's just that techies like to make things difficult. But it's really not. But I want to just show you, we have this thing where we're making name, we're making age, we're making height, and everything like that. But there is something in object-oriented programming called constructors. And constructors are noted by that. This is all implemented in PHP. You do underscore underscore construct. At that point, what a constructor is it constructs the bearings or the makings of the class. So now we can do something in here that will happen before the class actually gets turned into an object or is used for an object. So we can use one there. We can say return I'm a person. And at that point, whenever we make a new instance of that class, whenever we make a new let's put this in here. Let's go div, and let's go div, and then in here, we'll just go u equals mu person, and then we go, echo u, right? We'll just do that. Actually, I don't think that's going to work. Echo u make name this dude. All right. If we were to run this, you would see, oh wait, I didn't echo this out, I'm sorry. You would see, I'm a person, this dude. And the reason is because the constructor says before you do anything with this class, you have to echo out, I'm a person. There are also destructors. Now, I should be making these public functions. We wouldn't have any public belongings, would you? All right, so we'll have public function, public function. This is just for good practice. I mean, by default, it's public if you just say function, but it's best if you're using classes because you might want to differentiate. When we get more into furthering our usage of classes and objects, you're going to want to make sure it knows public and private and what have you. And then we also have destructors, which is not. Stop auto doing things that I don't want you to auto do, and then when I want you to auto do, you don't auto do. You do nothing. Anyway, that's what it looks like, and we can then echo you moron. And at that point, when we use this class to make an object of this dude as a person, it'll end with you moron. So now, I don't know why it's wrapped around, but you should, hold on a sec. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. All right, whatever. Well, it's after the class. So we can just keep doing, echo. We can keep doing stuff like this. You make, what was the other one? It was make name. No, make age. And we'll go 45. And we can just keep doing that, and this will always be at the end, and this will always be at the beginning. Now, with a constructor, we can do stuff like get these things, and we can say, let me see, how can I do that? Well, anyway, you could put all of this in here equals, Jerry, this height equals 6 foot, 6 foot tall, and you could say this age equals 50. And if you build that in a constructor, you're just going to get this dude 45 because even though we've initiated this, remember everything is top down, so it will all change to this anyway. But you moron is still there because we didn't change that. So I wanted to just show you the functions, the construct, and also, like I said, I wanted to show you that if you were to see something, because as we move forward, if you were to see something like this, well, now you can't do that in a constructor. If you were to see something like this, and you would see it again in a lot of frameworks or what have you, or this, or even some like this. And we never really talked about Booleans, so I think I'll take an opportunity now to talk about Booleans. Booleans are 1 or 0, true or false. That's all they work on. So when you have a string is whatever you put in quotes. If you have a number, it's whatever you just put out there as a number. If it's a float, if it's an integer or whatever. Then there's there's integer and there's float, and then there's Boolean. So that there are like 4 different types of integers you can use. Boolean is just true or false. And if you notice, like, you can say something like, let me think. If we make another function, if we were to say public function is human, I'm just trying to see how I can do this to, so is human, we can return true. And what that is, that's a Boolean. So now we don't have anything here, but if I were to say in another, you is human, because that's really good English. If I were to put that there, you would see 1. 1 means true. That's what we're returning. We're returning true, which means 1. And if I were to say false, it would return nothing because it's false. It doesn't mean anything. So I just want to let you know that because I never really touched on that. Booleans are, there are times I use Booleans, especially in the tables. And the tables, if you look at your database, when you make a table, if we were to make another, if we were to change the structure, and we were to make another one and go like this, if you notice you have integer, you have varchar, which is just text, and you have text, which is just text, and date, which is date. Date doesn't really, date's just a number too. And, decimal float, double. Double is like, 2 places after the decimal and everything. Real, which is, this is all just different terminology for the same thing. But if you look at Boolean would be based off of true and false. So it's 1 or 0. And you could default it to like 1 and say that it by default is true. Again, this is if you're doing comparisons in some way, shape, or form where it can only be yes or no. I mean, Boolean's like, I just want you to know this because in the future, when we start making our website, we may have to use stuff like Boolean, and I don't want you to be confused. So I just wanted to show you that as a means to give you a better idea. Or actually, let me see. And then you can do something like this. You can say it's false, but then we can go like, I'm not sure if that will work. Let's take a look. And it does, okay. So we could say not. I don't think I even mentioned that too. Not is human, which is the antithesis or the opposite of, when you put an exclamation point, it means not. So it's like, so this is false by default. This is saying, well, what's the not version of this? The not version of this is true. That's why you see 1. So you could do this with comparisons. I mean, we've seen that actually, not equal to or whatever. Like all these if statements, all these conditions. You see like this, if it's not equal to this or it's not equal to that. Like if we took this away, then it would say anything that's not equal to this is good. Like anything that's not a word or not letters would be good. Because this is just, it's confusing in the English language. It's not. When you do this, is the regular expression not matching this, then it's okay. But if the regular expression is matching this, then it's not. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so you've seen not before. I just wanted to make sure you've seen not. But yeah, like I said, constructors, destructors, what they do is they run a function before everything else. And in a way, you could use that to get rid of all this stuff. But it would be a little bit difficult because then you would have to make it equal to something. You'd have to pass parameters, and you don't pass parameters in constructors or destructors. Typically, you don't do that because they're basic static functions. And we haven't done static yet. We're going to do that next. But these are more or less static functions. These are keywords that are implemented in PHP, and they are designed to do a specific thing. So even that was a little bit of a generic look at constructors and destructors. Again, we're not going to get deep into it until we start actually making our own classes to make websites and everything like that. Once we start putting these things together and functionalizing them on our own, then you're going to see how they work. But that is destructors and constructors. We're going to get back to doing static, and I'm going to try to explain private, public, and protected better for you. So I'll be right back.